This next one is old MMORPGs were actually better. I've never seen this guy before. I have no idea who he is. But I saw an interesting thumbnail and I was like, fuck it, I'll watch this on stream. Why not?
Hi, I'm Idyl, or as you might better know me, the recently elected president of MMORPGs.
Please fix the genre. Gas the CEOs. Gamer war now. We believe in you. As the new president, it's your job to make sure that, actually, you can tell he's a veteran MMO player because he's got no hair, just like the rest of us. But as the new president, it is up to you to ensure that we now live in a state of anarchy that moves towards dictatorship, where you eliminate all AAA devs who even utter the words cash shop. Please.
That means everything I say, including my opinion, is true, and you cannot disagree with me. I've been playing MMORPGs almost exclusively since I was just a little boy playing a point-and-click medieval fantasy game called Runescape, and a lot has changed since then. I'm now a big boy who's playing a point-and-click medieval fantasy game called Old School Runescape. But why is it that in the almost 20 years of me playing MMORPGs, I keep coming back to the same one? And not just the same one, a 2007 version of that game. Ooh, I know, it's nostalgia. That's a very good guess, and a very common guess, but no, and if you did guess that, you have no value as a person. Also, how did you get into my office? I live in your walls. Oh yeah, that makes sense. But how can I, someone who's been playing RuneScape since 2004, actually say that nostalgia plays no part in my enjoyment of an old MMORPG? That's because I've done something that no man or woman has ever done in the history of human.
For fuck's sakes, now you're activating a million God damn it, why is it always the blacked filter? Why? I thought it would be funny for a joke, and now it's just the clown filter and the blacked filter being fucking activated non-stop. God damn it.
Is history. I played World of Warcraft Classic for 4 months straight, and it was awesome. I had never played World of Warcraft before. I never tried a free trial, I never played at a friend's house, or even watched anything World of Warcraft related, other than that South Park episode, but that didn't.
You missed out. Also, the South Park episode, everyone knows this, who played South Park, who watched the South Park episode and watched watched South Park, knows that the South Park episode was drastically inaccurate to any Warcraft gaming at all.
You want to play World of Warcraft? I lived in a strictly RuneScape household, and by strictly RuneScape household, I mean I played RuneScape and my brother socialized. Originally, that was because my parents didn't want to shell out $15 a month for me to create an extremely sexy night elf whose body I would sell for gold, but eventually I decided that my entire personality would be based around RuneScape anyways, and World of Warcraft would just distract.
Fuck, how old is this footage? Unregistered Hypercam 2. 10p. God damn, and you can see he's like stretched it out so it fills the whole screen, so it looks even worse.
From that. But with all the hype around WoW Classic Hardcore, a solo challenge where if your character dies it gets deleted, I was finally tempted to make the leap. 4 months later, and I can confidently say, damn, yeah, that's a pretty good game. I can use my unique experience of being literally brand new to not just an MMO, but an older version of that MMO to really analyze the experience of new versus old MMORPGs. So
listen, playing the hardcore version of WoW Classic is the most absolutely base take that you can fucking have for the genre. It's like the best shit that you can get out of it.
But with that said, if it's not, I'm actually gonna be standing the rest of the video. Can we pan the camera up? So with that said, if it's not just nostalgia that's separating these older MMORPGs from their newer counterparts, including things like RuneScape 3 and World of Warcraft Retail, then what is actually going on here? Is there
okay, prediction for this video. Prediction for this video is I think he's going to say that the thing that royally fucked all these games was the monetary systems. All the pay-to-win shit. Please, God, say it's the pay-to-win shit.
actually a tangible design difference in these MMORPGs that are coming out today? Well, that's what the entire video is about, so why don't you just keep watching it, you little baby? You little baby boy? Or girl. Hey, let me look at your internet search history, and let me see that internet traffic too. Whoa, wait, who are you? I'm a malicious third party, and I want to look at everything you're doing. No, nice. I'm helpless and also defenseless against this very situation. What am I going to do? Don't worry, it's taken care of. Oh my god, thank you so much. Who are you? I'm Atlas VPN. The sponsor of today's video.
There it
Atlas VPN is great for keeping your data and internet traffic secure from malicious third parties. As you just saw, I handle those no problem. But Atlas can do a lot more than just keeping you safe. Personally, I like to use it to watch my favorite shows.
What's up, Soul Man? Sorry, I don't think I said hi. I saw your messages earlier. I'm starting to think all us MMO content creators are the same. We're so jaded. We're not jaded. Jaded is a bad way to put it. We're just experienced within the genre. We got to watch the Twin Towers fall with our own eyeballs, metaphorically speaking. We got to see the grand Library of Alexandria be taken apart and the invaders wipe their ass with every single page of knowledge and then put it back together and try and make us read it. That's why we're so jaded. And one day, I pray to sweet baby Jesus that one day the Messiah will come and save us all. And it might be Ashes of Creation. It might not be. It might be what Riot releases. But there are very, very, very few games with the potential to come out in the modern day with live service games, with cash shops, with all that bullshit. There are many false prophets. But the Messiah has not shown himself yet. But maybe one day before we die, like maybe on our deathbeds, we will hear the release of an MMO and we will just all fall over dead from pure bliss of knowing that a game that's actually good exists. But until then, we're just going to keep waiting. And we're going to just keep shitting on each and every single MMO out there
that I can't watch in America. For example, I can use Atlas VPN on my phone to connect to a UK server and then easily watch one of my favorite sports shows right now, Welcome to Wrexham on Disney+. And the best part is I can use Atlas VPN on my phone, my computer, my iPad, any device I would ever watch anything on. So click the link in the description right now to get Atlas VPN for only $1.83 a month. Plus you'll get 3 months extra. Plus there's a 30-day money-back guarantee if you're not completely satisfied with it. That's an 82% discount.
What that means to me is that there's a 30-day period that you can use Atlas VPN for free. That's what that means. But I bet you, just like every other service out there, it is fucking impossible to try and get cancellation on that.
Just by clicking the link in the description. Wow, but I bet to get access to all this awesome stuff.
God damn, now that you've said it, so man, I'm fucking jaded. I am so fucking jaded. Jesus Christ. I'm so negative about the world. I couldn't help it. It just came out of me.
Stuff, it's probably super expensive. Did you not just hear what it's not expensive. It's a huge discount. Click the link in the description and you get the huge discount. You heard what I said, right? Anyway, I have more internet crimes to fight, so goodbye. Come with me to my classroom. We're gonna do a quick lesson. Hello class, my name is, it's still Idyl. MMORPG, nice. Contrary to popular belief, is an acronym. It stands for Massively Multiplayer Online Role-Playing Game. The astute among you have noticed this little guy right here. Game. I'm gonna let you all in on a little secret about games. They're supposed to be fun. I mean,
are they though? Are games truly supposed to be fun? I'm sorry, he's speaking a foreign language to me right now. Man, I didn't know games were supposed to be fun. I thought they were meant to be soul-destroying.
Yeah, baseball is a game and that's not fun at all, but that's more of like the exception that proves the rule. So if I'm going to make the claim that older MMORPGs are better than newer ones, I need to prove that older MMORPGs are more fun. So what makes an MMORPG fun? MMORPGs are such a weird genre because a lot of the mechanics that exist in them, like the questing and the leveling experience, would be universally regarded as fucking terrible if they were put in a single-player game. But unlike single-player games, the fun part of an MMO is the grind. The time investment allowing your character to very tangibly power up in a world that is full of other real people you can interact with is, for me at least, an unmatched feeling. Yeah, sure, getting
I'm trying to remember, just that he said this now, I'm trying to remember the last time I had fun grinding in an MMO. Wasn't New World. Sure as fuck wasn't Retail WoW. Yeah, it was actually vanilla, not classic, vanilla. I thought games are supposed to be used to assert dominance on other people. Yeah, but that's fun. That's just fun with extra steps. Important extra steps, but extra steps.
A quest to kill 25 Oomfleet flops isn't a lot of fun, but what is fun is watching a bar or number go up until you gain a level, allowing you to gain a new ability. And with this new ability, going to kill 50 more Oomfleet flops, but, you know, faster. Okay, but seriously, the slow progression of MMOs is part of what I love about them. Walking around the game world and seeing people who have put that time in and are way more powerful than I am, but knowing that I can hit that same power level is super engaging to me. And the progression in an MMO isn't just limited to gear, abilities, or level. Like in any game, you as the player will get better at it the more you play it. But with MMORPGs, you can get better by playing with other people, like doing your first dungeon in World of Warcraft and having your team walk you through the mechanics.
And the Dead Mines was so fucking good. First time I played the Dead Mines, oh god, it was, oh, that's a core memory. That's like ingrained in my soul how fun Dead Mines was as a new player. Start of New World was pretty fun to grind. Maybe it's because I'm an MMO noob. No, I think, you know what, it depends what do you mean by grind, right? When I say grind, like grinding levels is not fun because what it means is you run out into the world and try and kill as many mobs as possible. Whereas just leveling is just playing the game. If that makes sense, right? I think, like, grinding to me was when you got to level 45 in New World, and you had to go find a spot out in the open world, and you had to just kill the same mob over and over and over again, or you had to level cooking against your will to get 2 extra levels by boosting your cooking from level 1 to level 200. But like actually just playing the game and enjoying it along the way, I don't consider that grind. Grind, I think, is something that you have to like go out of your way to do in a video game versus just doing things and then stuff happening because of it.
Of it all. There's also the added thrill of doing a dungeon with a group that thinks they're playing an esport and will call you a slur if you don't give them a shield at the exact right moment. There's just something amazing and unique about the social aspect of progression that a single-player game could never really have. Another thing that is extremely important in the enjoyment of MMORPGs is clear goals at each and every stage of the game. If there's even a slight lull in what a player's objective should be or how to get to the next zone, then they're extremely likely to log out and never log back in. These lulls in gameplay are what are commonly referred to as quit moments. The vice president of MMOR
called uninstall moments now, but yeah, everyone was like, yeah, I quit the game because I got lost and I couldn't be asked to figure out where to go next. Very common. Very common.
RPGs, Josh Strife Hayes has a great video about quit moments. You should go watch it, but don't leave this video where I no, I can't say that on YouTube. The thing about quit moments is that they don't just happen when there's nothing to do, they can also happen when there's way too much to do. This is something known as decision paralysis, and you might have experienced it when you scroll through Netflix trying to find something to watch, but in the end, you and your partner just end up opening YouTube and watching some random video that they really don't want to watch, but you're interested in, and you just kind of force them to watch it. And if you're one of those significant others who's been forced to watch this video about MMOs despite never even setting foot in one and not knowing what Runescape is,
I gotta make my wife watch this now. Yeah, just because he said that, now I've got to force my wife to watch this.
hi. How's it going? Think of MMOs with extremely complex crafting systems that devs spent hundreds of hours designing and developing to create a unique experience. It sounds like it should be pretty cool, right? But then that MMO walks up to you and is like, hey, nice log. Here's an extraordinarily deep crafting system showing all of the weapons and armors and supplies you can craft with that one log, despite the fact that you don't even know how to equip items yet.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, like, that would scare me. You have to ease me into your scary crafting system. When an MMORPG has nicely paced, well thought out progression, it can be one—
Oh, okay, so this is one of the uninstall moments that happens to Albion players, I've learned, is that the second they open the Destiny board and then they zoom out, they have like a mild fucking panic attack. And the only reason that I didn't was, well, one, I've been playing MMOs forever, so I'm kind of used to it, but also because I've worked my way through the Path of Exile tree. And when you've done that, and you've like made a build that works in Path of Exile, and then you go play Albion Online, you look at their Destiny board, and you're like, yo, this ain't shit, this shit is easy.
one of the most amazing experiences to play through, and it makes a large time investment that most of the genre requires feel fun and relatively easy. Okay, but this video isn't about how to make a fun MMO, it's about why older MMOs were just better. So what about new MMORPGs isn't working? Why can 99.99% of the new ones coming out not hold their player base for more than a month or two? And why are constantly updated old MMOs like RuneScape 3 and World of Warcraft Retail bleeding players? This can be pretty complicated, and we're gonna get into some deep economics here, so let me leave my presidential office and head over to my business office. Business. I love money, and let's go capitalism. Thank you all for joining me.
Man, this is like, I'm noticing a trend here. We always end up in the same spot when it comes to talking about MMORPGs. We always end up talking about the saddest place to exist in the world, where it's like you end up talking about a video game and inevitably you end up speaking about how how you end up in like a business office and it's all about profit incentive and it's no longer about the game, and it just drives you insane. It slowly drives you insane because you know that these devs have none of your best interests at heart. Fuck, why is that filter on? What the? What did I say to activate that one? Okay, hold on. Let me. I'm now gonna go in. Okay, yeah.
Me for this very important bit.
Fuck, I need to turn that off. I need to figure out how to turn off that voice activation. That's gonna get annoying.
Business presentation. I know you have busy schedules, and I appreciate you making the time. Couldn't agree more. Let's just get right into it. Let's take a look at this graph that I made using imaginary numbers, but I think is generally accurate. This blue line represents the demand for MMORPGs, which starts off a little bit lower in the early 2000s, but peaks in 2007 with games like World of Warcraft, Wrath of the Lich King, Guild Wars, and RuneScape all dominating the market. This red line down here represents the market saturation, aka how many MMORPGs are out there to be played. When game companies started to catch wind of just how much money Blizzard was making from World of Warcraft, their little capitalist bones—
oh yeah, no, they lost their fucking minds. And there were so many, this is the WoW killer MMOs coming out. Anyone remember Rift? Anyone remember Ion? All the marketing around it? Oh man, guys, we've got the WoW killer. We've got the WoW killer. This is the one. This is the WoW killer. I heard that so many fucking times.
Bones started rattling in their wrinkly old skin, and with each vibration, a new MMORPG was released. And so the market saturation started going up at an extremely rapid pace. This coincided with a stagnant and then declining
Wait, if you say the word Bobby, do you get a breast milk filter? No.
Demand for
Not a bad
MMORPGs.
idea,
Great question. how does that affect the quality of the MMORPGs that were coming out then? Every new game was competing to set itself apart from World of Warcraft. After all, since MMORPGs are a huge commitment and time investment, you're going to need to do something special to tear players away from what they're already playing. So games started trying to get a little bit wacky and crazy with their systems. Systems are what all games
I spoke about Rift and it appeared.
Are built on. They're the way that combat works, the skilling works, abilities, talents. If you were trying to pry people away from World of Warcraft, for example, and all you did was a little Control-C, Control-V action of everything World of Warcraft does, it just...
You remember that last video where I was talking about how if you just make the same thing and it's not better by like a country mile than the old thing, no one's switching over, or people will switch over for like maybe a month to try it out and then they'll go right the fuck back? Yeah. This is why I say MMO players are looking at like Call of Duty players and Battlefield players, and they're just being like, yeah, welcome to the table. We've been here a long time. We know exactly what you're going through because we went through it too. It's time you got your cheeks beat. Because we know.
Just wouldn't be able to convince enough people to switch. And making an MMO is expensive, so it almost definitely wouldn't make the investment worth it. That's even if you do everything a little bit better than World of Warcraft. So logically, what these MMOs need to do is a common strategy in the dating world: peacocking. Peacocking is when a male uses ostentatious clothing and behavior to attract a female and to stand out from other competing males. In this case...
Oh yeah, but they've been cocking us for a long time. There's no P involved. They've just been cocking us non-stop. And they just keep cocking us harder every single year. I'm so desperate. Listen, I'm so fucking desperate. I'm so goddamn desperate for Ashes of Creation to take us back to a better time. You know, I'm gonna hold on. There we go. Okay, sorry, I had to actually find that one. I had to push a button for that one. This is where I want Ashes of Creation to take us. Is right the fuck back here, right? Right back to the time when you know your Logitech speakers were like 5 kilograms, when you had no fucking idea what was inside that magic box that let you play games. You weren't thinking about a GPU or whatever core or motherboard combination, or even your tower. You didn't care about your tower looking pretty. Like, you just wanted something that you could play video games on. That's where I want Ashes of Creation to take us, and I'm so scared that it's not going to take us there.
MMOs are the males, and we are the females. MMORPGs would start developing increasingly complex systems like fast-paced combat, seasonal game modes, permadeath, full PvP, insanely deep crafting, tech trees. Nothing that is inherently a bad idea or poor design, but things that, unless executed perfectly, would do more overwhelming a player than engaging them. Just look at all these MMOs released from 2010 to 2013, the point at which the MMO market was already well saturated. Most of these I'm sure you haven't heard of, but if you have, they probably weren't your...
Actually, you know what? I was going to say that's a lot of closed games, but you know, it's more surprising that there's more surviving games.
Primary MMORPG. A lot of the notable ones, though, had one of those complex systems I was talking about. You had games like Terra with its non-target combat system with a heavy use of a dodge mechanic, not unlike the Souls franchise. Terra actually did alright for its time, but it did officially close its doors just last year after Vice President Josh Strife Hayes made a scathing review about it, and they bowed out in shame.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. That like everyone seems to think. I know obviously he's being sarcastic, he doesn't actually think this, but I absolutely love how Josh Strife Hayes made a video and all 5 of the people still playing Terra got really fucking mad at him for not liking the game, and they're like, you killed the game. By that same standard, Sawman, you're 100% responsible for murdering ESO. That will be engraved on your tombstone one day. Here lies the dog that killed ESO. It's all your fault.
You had Rift with its Soul system, which was basically a competitor to WoW's really popular talent system. Now, Rift did really well when it came out.
Listen, Rift's... I gotta say this. Rift's talent trees are fucking beautiful. I loved their talent trees. It made me play the game for a whole extra week longer than I otherwise would have. It was so good. I love that it was tied to certain abilities. going down certain trees, and there were so many infinite combinations of shit you could do. And I played a Chloromancer, and a Chloromancer is supposed to be someone who heals. But if I remember correctly, I was just using my Chloromancer to basically be a damage over time warlock. It was so good.
It was the prophesized WoW killer that MMO players and blogs were looking for years. But even Rift started losing players only a few years after its release, until it was eventually acquired by a company that is not exactly known for helping MMOs to become better versions of themselves. Game goes right behind me, isn't it? Stupid. You also had Star Wars, The Old Republic, with its morality system like from the Knights of the Old Republic. And it also...
SWTOR was such a bang of a game as well. You know what? I'll even do this one on purpose, right? SWTOR as a game, and you can see it even today. If you play SWTOR, you can see that all the monetization systems have been tacked on afterwards. And you can even just look at the game and be like, man, back in the day, SWTOR was based. Did that work? Oh, it did. It did work that time.
Also was different than other MMOs because it was Star Wars, and other MMOs didn't have the license to be Star Wars. Not gonna lie, Star Wars: The Old Republic didn't do too much different. It was still a good MMORPG, but just like the rest of them, it really didn't last that long in terms of how...
Story was top tier though. The decision choices on the story were top tier. We need more of that.
Having a huge player base. But I know what you're thinking. Why haven't I mentioned one of the biggest MMORPGs ever that was released between 2010 and 2013 that allowed you to explore the world of a beloved Japanese franchise? Hello Kitty Online. Unfortunately, like so many other MMOs on this list, Hello Kitty Online closed its doors in 2017. But luckily, its website is still up, and we can see the last message the developers ever put out to its player base. Hello everyone. Springtime has finally come. Easter is just around the corner, and we're holding several events in celebration. We'll post details soon, so keep tuned in, or you'll miss out on fun games and prizes. See you in game, the Hello Kitty Online team. They never did post those details. Wait, why was the last post in 2012? It shut down in 2017. The other thing an MMO can do to stick out, which doesn't necessarily require a ton of added complexity, is by appealing to a niche. Most of the time, if an MMO wants to appeal to a niche, it's going to go...
Yes, the thing that New World should have done. It should have stayed open world, full loot sandbox PvP, and it wouldn't have had fucking 1 million players drop off into nothing. It would have had nothing players becoming like 10,000 or 20,000 and stay there. God, fucking everyone's trying to be like the biggest MMO and they don't realize they need to be the most sustainable MMO instead. Fuck, it makes me so mad. Mortal Online 2. I'm just sad you couldn't use your dick as a weapon in Mortal Online 2. You couldn't just be flailing and like, you know, you do 1 damage as your character like rotates and their meat sausage just like smacks a guard or something.
Go for full PvP. It sounds exciting, right? Everywhere in the world gives you this sense of danger because at any moment you could be struck down. It's even more exciting when the developers go even harder and make the PvP system full loot, meaning everything you have is lost on death. This is exactly what games like Mortal Online do. But the reality is, appealing to a niche, especially a hardcore one, usually means your game is doomed to remain small. Especially since in the gaming world, MMORPGs are...
And that's fine. Make a game that's small, appeals to a niche, and is sustainable. That's all you have to do. You won't make the most money, but you will make the money. So tonight is Nostalgia Night. It wasn't intended to be. I just saw some videos I wanted to watch, and it turns out that this is what it is. This is Nostalgia Night.
Already a niche. Just think back to New World's development. New World was one of the most hyped MMOs.
Oh, fuck. And he just went straight for New World. I love that. Just as I was talking about it, I'm on the same wavelength as our president over here. He knows. He knows.
in recent memory, at least, you know, one that has actually been released. One of the features I was most proudly and loudly boasting about was its PvP, until they realized that if they wanted to survive and even thrive, they were going to need a strong PvE experience too, since PvP was just too niche. In the end, they did both decently, but neither really well, and the game just kind of, well, you know. And stop typing that comment that you still play New World, okay? Who are you trying to impress? Another fun thing that happened before the release of New World was Amazon Game Studios putting out a statement that said, hey, by the way, we are going to have cosmetic microtransactions, but don't rule out non-cosmetic microtransactions.
Yes. You see this? They were so desperate to be like, look, the game's not going to be pay to win, and now the game is pay to win. XP boosts for your crafting, for your leveling, your gypsum cost, the battle pass. It's gone full pay to win. It's going full pay to win. Man. New World. And the best part was, I think in the original post that they put up, they said the game will not be pay to win for now. Right? Because they knew what they were going to do in the future. And they just wanted to cover their own ass so that whenever anyone complained, they could be like, we said it's not pay to win for now.
Like, Amazon, the game isn't even out. Can you at least let us, like, play the game before you keep telling me how you're gonna milk me like the MMO-addicted cretin that I am? But I mean, to be fair, Amazon does mean the money. I mean, Jeff Bezos is only the richest man on Earth.
Mm-hmm. No. Wait. Wait.
He's third now. Oh god. If you're not like at the top of the list, if you're in third place, god damn.
How is he supposed to afford to make an MMO without $5 rainbow lines, you know? But that does bring me nicely to one of the biggest problems with modern MMOs. Microtransactions.
Predicted it. The first 2 minutes I said, he's going to talk about this. And he went straight for it. Old MMO players, we're all the same person. We just wear a different face. We all know. We all know.
That's right. Microtransactions aren't cool. And I'm not afraid to say it. Hey kid, you want to buy some microtransactions? They'll help you level up, if you know what I mean. No thanks. I'd rather do things the old-fashioned way.
So I spent like 40 hours killing a boss to get the last part of this shield. It's not very good. It's not a very good shield.
The big issue is there's no incentive for MMORPGs, both old and new.
I might have a video called The Shocking State of MMOs in 2023. I'll have to watch that next time I'm streaming. Can I introduce you to a gem called fuck you, Ilgi.
To not introduce microtransactions in some form. The way microtransactions work from the company's perspective is not to have every player spend a little bit of money. It's actually to get a few players to spend a lot of money. Those players are called whales. The reason every MMO is using microtransaction models is because even if your player base and subscriber count is dwindling, you'll probably have at least a couple of whales keeping your game afloat, which in turn encourages the devs to add even more microtransactions. And since, as I've mentioned a lot already, MMOs are extremely expensive to make, the companies funding development really just care about the bottom line and not the integrity of the game. But I'm just a little MMO player and YouTuber. Clearly I have no idea what an MMORPG needs or what the players want. I mean, I'm not some great game development company like Blizzard that is fully in touch with their community's desires.
Have you ever thought about adding servers for previous expansions as they were then?
No. Oh. And by the way, you don't want to do that either. You think you do, but you don't.
Listen.
Fuck, that is one of the most legendary lines that will go down forever in the history of MMOs, is you think you do, but you don't. That line there for MMO players is the same line as ARPG players who got the "don't you guys have phones." Oh, that line's gonna be there forever.
And I know microtransactions have been complained about for over like a decade already, but it is important to understanding part of why new MMOs suffer. And it's not just the fact that people can boost how fast they gain experience or buy better gear. The cosmetics are almost as big of an issue to me. There are two big things I find really cool in MMORPGs. The first is immersion into this massive game world that is quite literally bigger than just my character because it's populated by tons of other real people. The other is being able to see people's gear at a glance and understand, wow, they earned a really powerful weapon. Even if I'm brand new to the game, it tells me they either grinded for the drop, beat a difficult quest, or spent time getting filthy rich. Cosmetic.
I must have spent hours in WoW Classic. I mean, not Classic, in retail. I must have spent hours of my life just standing in Stormwind inspecting people. And then, like, Googling where the fuck would I get this piece of gear. I must have spent, I don't know, collectively days of my life just doing that.
Microtransactions totally ruin both of those things. I mean, seeing someone in WoW retail riding this crazy winged horse mount at level 10 that you can get from the microtransaction shop, which is introduced to you by an in-game quest, by the way, it just kind of breaks my immersion and makes mounts earned from raids feel less cool. But that's nothing compared to cosmetics that are just
yeah, destruction of visual progression, and everyone's gonna bitch out and say, no, visual progression's not pay to win, but you are winning by looking cooler than the other guy. The other guy had to work his ass off for something that looks mediocre in comparison to the thing that you bought, that you got a hold of using the most powerful weapon in the game, which is your credit card. Right? So now you see someone walking around in awesome gear, you're like, ah, fuck that guy, he probably just used, whatchamacallit, he just bought it. Right? It takes the amazement out of it, that you would see one guy with both glaives of Azeroth. Now it's just like, oh yeah, no, everyone's got something that looks fucking awesome at level 2. And it ruins visual progression, which also ruins one of the motivations to play MMORPGs. Way more than you think.
Completely out of place. Like RuneScape 3's headbutt mining, or RuneScape 3's wings, or RuneScape 3's baby panda, or RuneScape 3's Daruma. Oh my god. What the fuck is that?
Okay, but what about WoW tokens and old school RuneScape's bonds? Those let you buy golds for money. Isn't that a microtransaction?
Who the fuck are you? But yeah, to be clear, bonds and WoW tokens are microtransactions, and I don't like those either. I understand that they do have their advantages, like old school RuneScape's bonds mean that free-to-play players can get membership without spending any real-life money. But the ability to buy in-game currency with real-life money is just always going to be a net negative to me. Just because a
it's going to be a net negative overall because it ruins the vast majority of the player-based enjoyment of the game, because some fucking guy just bought all the gold that you had to work your ass off for.
Transaction isn't directly letting you buy levels or gear or giving you gross, ugly cosmetics doesn't mean it's good. It's still bad for the integrity of the game. These companies have somehow conditioned us into being like, well, some microtransactions are okay. But the truth is, no microtransactions is always better than any microtransactions.
100% agree.
And if your game needs microtransactions and boosts to be playable and enjoyable, you've made a bad game. Listen.
There you go. Yeah, that one sentence there that he said will be, you will see the biggest fucking cope in all of the fucking comments. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's just visual. It's just visual progression. It's not gonna fucking, it doesn't change the game itself. It's just, like, there are people who go out of their way to suck the cock of every fucking company around them. There's like this ultra desperation that people have to try and, like, make an excuse because they play a game that's got pay to win or some microtransaction system, and they go out of their way to defend it. It's fucking insane. Also, why is that filter on? You said cope. Okay, that was the word. Okay.
MMORPGs these days are in a really tough spot. They're coming out at a time where the market is oversaturated and the demand has really never been lower. And we're also in the era where you need a large investment to make an MMORPG. It's not like back in the late 90s when one guy could make Ultima, or three brothers could make RuneScape, or a relatively small team at Blizzard could make all of World of Warcraft. The truth is, modern MMORPGs are kind of at a natural disadvantage due to factors mostly outside of their control. Okay, but enough about...
I think that's bullshit. If you could make it back in the day with a small team, you could probably make it now. The problem isn't, it isn't the team size. It's the scope of the game, because everyone's trying to be the biggest and the best when what they should be trying to make is a nice, tight, clean experience for a target market that works for those particular gamers and then no one else. And they just need to hit profitability. That's all they need to do. They don't need to go for the most profitability.
Modern MMORPGs sucking, because that's not really the point of the video. Older MMORPGs have a lot of things that make them special that aren't just new MMO bad, old MMO gooder? Wait, hold on. I'm getting a call. Hello? No, I think you're mistaken. No, that can't be true. Well, 1 second. Sorry.
Minor mistake. You could see the lock screen, buddy. You should have turned the other way so that we couldn't see the lock screen. Make it more believable.
This person on the phone is telling me that you aren't subscribed, but that's ridiculous because you are subscribed.
I mean, fair. Okay, fair. You got me.
Right? Anyway, let's go back to my business office so we can look at numbers about older MMORPGs. This isn't the way to my business office. It's this way, sorry. You'll remember this graph that showed us that new MMORPGs are joining an oversaturated market with low demand. But the absolute inverse is true back in the late 90s and early 2000s, when demand was on the rise and the saturation was still really low. I mean, back then, all you had was like Ultima, Guild Wars, EverQuest, Neverwinter, Runescape, and World of Warcraft, which sounds like a lot, but in reality, it's not that much. And that's especially when you consider that when World of Warcraft came out, EverQuest was just gone. EverQuest died. Sorry, EverQuest fans, but you know it's true. So what does this lack of competition mean? It means simplicity. The MMORPGs that were first onto the scene in the late 90s and early 2000s weren't fighting to stand out against an ocean of competitors. Yes, you still needed to do something different than the other games on the market, but you didn't need to dig too far deep to do that. This meant that the underlying systems that drive all these games were really very simple, clean, and usually well designed. And to be
like I just said, a nice, tight, unique experience for a particular target market. They weren't trying to make all the money, they were just trying to make enough money to survive.
Clear, a simple system doesn't mean it's bad. It can actually mean the exact opposite. I mentioned before how overly complex systems of new MMOs are often a turnoff more than a draw for new players. Well, the inverse is true for simple systems. Think about the system that most players think of first with every MMO. Combat. Sure, World of Warcraft Classic has a whole host of abilities, but the number of abilities per class isn't actually that much, and the fact that you earn them in a slow progression from levels 1 to 60 makes it extremely easy to digest. Compare this to WoW Retail, where not only are there more abilities and more classes.
Oh my god, it's so fucking different. It's so different. Like 1 to 60 in Retail versus Vanilla or Classic is so goddamn different. Because like 1 to 60 in the old school version of WoW, you actually had to learn the game, and when you got a new button, it was exciting. Retail just shits buttons out at you, and it's like, yeah, fuck it, figure it out. It's up to you, buddy. And you're like, what? Huh? You have no idea where you're going with this. And then add into that you've now got the character boosts, where you can just boost one random class to level 80 or 100 or whatever the fuck the level cap became in WoW, and now you've got all those abilities stacked up on each other and like, try out this class. Like, how the fuck are you gonna try out that class when you have no idea what the hell's going on? You have fuck all idea what's going on because you don't understand any of the buttons, because you've gone through none of the work to understand how this character is, like how it functions.
But leveling is 100 times faster. I mean, speedrunners can get to max level in under 5 hours. That's something that will take you hundreds of hours in Classic, even for the fastest players. That means you're constantly getting new abilities and it can be hard to keep up. It muddies what was once a simple, clean system. Other than that, the combat is target-based, so you click on an enemy, button mash your ability rotation, and you're off. It's so simple, but it's smooth as butter and a lot of fun to get into. If you ask any WoW Classic player what they love about the game, game, they'll usually tell you the combat is at the top of their list. I mean, the reason there was a mass exodus from WoW to Final Fantasy XIV a couple years ago is because Final Fantasy XIV has a very similar combat system, and WoW players are not willing to sacrifice that in their MMO. Old school RuneScape's combat system is literally point and click. Like seriously, you point and click and watch your character do damage. You don't even have to watch. You can actually just get up and go do something else if you want. You know, you could get a job maybe. We've
Amazing.
been wondering if you're going to do that. Or you're just going to keep...
I gotta say this, like, this is my experience of RuneScape. There were 3 groups of gamers in my school. Way back in the Stone Age. Group 1 were the WoW players, right? There were people like me who worked an extra job so that we could pay money every month to play WoW. And our big problem was addiction, right? We would play the shit out of that game. I remember waking up at 3 in the morning. Hey, what's up, McStabs? Thanks for the follow. I will remember waking up at 3 in the morning on school days just so I could play WoW for 3 hours before I went to school, right? I was heavily addicted to that game. Group 2 were the RuneScape players, right? And all the RuneScape players I knew were Kumas. All of them. Every last one of them. Right? And I know this because they always had a second tab open because it was a browser-based game and they were usually looking at fucking porn. How do I know this? Because one of them got caught in the IT class jerking his fucking dick and there were 2 tabs open. One of them was Dragon Ball Z porn and the other was RuneScape. Okay? I got to hear stories of how fucking Kuma the RuneScape players were. There was a guy who figured out that he could jerk off all day if he got an ice cold glass of water, and just before he was about to come, he would dunk his balls in the ice water, and he said it felt like he was coming, but he wasn't, and then he could just keep going for the rest of the day, right? These are the stories I heard from the RuneScape players. And you know what, that one guy who dunked his balls in ice water, you know what stopped him being a Kuma, right? Was he had a sister who one day walked into his room, right? So he was like, he had like a jerk-off session going while he was playing RuneScape, and he was dunking his balls in his ice water. The ice eventually melted, and he left the room to go get... I'm sorry, I can still remember this. He went to go get more ice from the fridge. When he came back, he found his sister in his room digging through his drawers looking for something, and he found the glass of water that was on his desk empty. and he was like, what the fuck happened to my glass of water? And his sister drank his ball water. So I'm sorry, that still makes me laugh. Years later, that still makes me laugh. His sister fucking drank his ball water, and after that experience, he no longer played RuneScape, he played WoW, because that way he could focus on not jerking off all day while fucking playing an MMO, right? The third group of gamers was everyone who was absorbed in playing Quake all day, every day, every break session, every time. Like, some of them would actually like fake that they had to go to the infirmary in our school. They'd be like, oh, I've got a sore stomach. And because some of them were like monitors, they were called monitors, so they were supposed to monitor the class. They had keys to the IT room, and they'd literally skip class to go play Quake 3. That's RuneScape for you.
And yet, when Jagex decided to change RuneScape's combat forever in 2011 with the evolution of combat, the game started to bleed players, and that's because the game was well designed around the simplicity of the old combat system. Simple combat systems can still be deep, rich, rewarding experiences. Making an insane getaway with your abilities in WoW Classic Hardcore is one of my favorite experiences I've had in any MMO lately. And old school RuneScape is still using the exact same combat system from 2004, but has found ways to design content around it that makes it more engaging. They do this by forcing you to swap attack styles or prayers or gear at the right time, time. They haven't had to change anything about how combat at its core works to do any of that, so the system is still completely approachable for anyone. This simplicity on the surface is what attracts so many new players to these games. And after investing a ton of time into learning these mechanics like combat, they get to take advantage of their earned knowledge and do more with the combat system than just using a stronger ability. What goes hand in hand with the simplicity of the combat system is the beauty of the gear progression in these old MMOs. I mean, RuneScape's gear progression is iconic at this point. We all remember finally getting to equip our first rune plate body at level 40 defense after completing Dragon Slayer, or when we finally got a pair of dragon plate legs that looked so cool back in the day. And there,
You know what was actually the worst part about RuneScape was the second you got anything close to cool armor, even if it was just basic mithril, immediately you had a bunch of people whispering you, hey, I'll trim your armor for free. Hey, you want some free armor trimming? People just following you around messaging you. You. I'll trim your armor for free. Hey, do you mind just, there's a boss out in the wilds. Fuck, I forgot what it was called. It was like the full loot PvP zone. Like, there's a boss out in the wilds. Can you just come help us kill it because you got the gear to do it? And then 5 people are waiting for you out there. That was the worst part of RuneScape. You were either a Kuma and an idiot, or you had a dial-up connection and you just couldn't handle WoW. I mean, I had to play WoW on like 700 MS and it was still okay. No, 700's wrong. It would bounce between 700 and 12,000.
There was no dopamine rush on the same level as getting your first tier 70 armor when you got a Barrows drop for the first time. The equipment tiers in RuneScape were laid out extremely clearly, and any player, old or new, could figure it out really quickly. And because the inventory items and the equipment models matched 1-to-1, it was really easy for any player to know what another player was wearing at a glance. This meant there was a lot of intrinsic motivation just walking around the world or standing at a bank and seeing a player wearing a dragon chain body. You would see that and be like, damn, that guy's rich. Or he's really good at the game. Or he real world traded. That's also possible. He could have done that.
RMT, non-stop, always. Those Venezuelans work hard for that gold that you buy from them.
Even though World of Warcraft Classic doesn't have the tiers laid out so plainly, it still does a lot to make the gear progression simple and really motivating. First of all, item rarity. Item rarity isn't and wasn't a new system by any means, but it's a nice and easy way for players at a glance to understand if they just got something worth taking a closer look at.
I'm trying to think of the first case of item rarity. It's probably tabletop D&D games or MUDs. Probably tabletop.
Yeah, sure, it's not always perfect, but it does what it needs to do. Then you have the stats. There's only 5 main stats, and it's not hard to figure out which stats are best for which class, so you end up really only prioritizing 2 or 3 that you want from your items. Like a hunter wanting agility to increase its range attack power, or mages wanting intellect to increase their max mana. When you progress further, you'll find items that have more than just basic stats, like items with straight attack power, spell power, or effects that can happen on hit. Since these sorts of enchantments come later, a player won't be overwhelmed by them right off the bat. This keeps the progression simple, and it also helps your power feel like it's really scaling with each gear upgrade.
Not only that, but when you got your first blue drop, even when you out-leveled it, you would be like, I can't get rid of this, I can't sell this, and you'd like dump it in your bank, and you'd be like, I will keep this forever.
I just really want to stress how much slow progression was key to these older MMOs. Yeah, we all hate when you try an MMO and you don't like it, and the other players who love it are like, well, did you invest 500 hours? If you didn't invest 500 hours, you don't actually know the MMO. Like, shut up. That's
oh, bro, you don't understand, bro. I mean, if you didn't spend at least 2 years in the game, you have no right to review this game, bro. Bro, if the game wasn't fun within the first 20 hours, that just means you didn't play it until the first 100 hours. Bro, you don't understand. This game is fucking amazing once you hit level 200. How long is it going to take you to get there? I mean, you'll be 60 years old by the time you get there, but bro, I promise it gets fun at that point. Fuck, I hate that thinking. I really hate that thinking. A game is supposed to be enjoyable almost instantaneously. If a game's got setup, then it needs a hook, and if it's got a good hook, then after that it should It should be able to keep you entertained. It should have something that intrigues you enough to keep going.
Bad design. That I don't want to have to invest 500 hours to enjoy your game. But slow progression doesn't mean bad progression. It just means you reach meaningful milestones at every step of the way, but that you don't become, you know, a complete god by level 5 or something. I mean, in WoW Classic, you won't get your first green uncommon item until level 10 if you're lucky, and you're not gonna get your first blue item until your first dungeon. And trust me, when you get something like that, it feels so good. Most of the items you'll come across in just your leveling and questing experience have no stats at all and are kind of worthless, but that's okay, because it makes the real upgrades feel that much better. Meanwhile, in WoW Retail, you will leave the tutorial with a blue item, and every single item you find is basically going to be better than what you had before, making upgrades feel like an expected chore almost.
Actually, blue items are like trash. What you really gotta be looking for is you gotta be like, you gotta get like a character that has artifacts on them, like the light yellow grayish color, and because those level with you, that way you don't have to worry about the gear, and you don't have to think about your character at all. You can just wear the same stuff until you get to like max level, and then after that, then you can like start just pugging some raids, and then you'll get masses. But you don't have to worry about gear, right, guys? I mean, it's not like it's an impactful system in the game. Yeah, heirlooms. That's what they were called. There you go. Post-purchase rationalization. Had to Google it. Suffer the way I did so that I can justify my spending. There you go. That's it. Yeah, there's two people in this world, Joe Inro. There's people like, I had to suffer, so you have to suffer too. Or there's people who are like, I had to suffer, so let's hope no one else has to suffer through this.
Instead of this dopamine rush that it should be. But enough about simplicity.
I'm type 1, by the way. Fuck you. I had to play this game. You don't get to pay to win to get your shit and not spend the next 5 hours doing the same thing I did. Fuck you. Play the game. I'm type 1.
Because that's not even the thing that made these games so good. There's this almost intangible quality that older MMOs had that new MMOs can't, or maybe even shouldn't have. Older MMOs were so freaking crusty, man. The dictionary defines crusty as having or presenting a hard outer layer or covering. Old MMOs have that. Old school RuneScape's extremely dated graphics and combat system that have been beloved by the community ever since they were changed in the main RuneScape back in the 2010s. World of Warcraft Classic and Guild Wars' weirdly smooth mountain ranges. You know what I mean? Look at these. That's not what mountains look like, but it has this charm.
What I loved about these mountain ranges was when I found out how they were made, was it's literally there's just a mesh that's horizontal, and some guy clicked and dragged it upwards, and that's it. That's a mountain range. Is some dude touching a point on a mesh and just dragging it vertically, and that's it. That's all he did.
Do it. The fact that in World of Warcraft to go from one dock to another, you have to literally take a boat, and if you miss that boat, you have to wait for it to do a round trip, and then you have to get on it, and then you have to wait some more, and you just kind of like dance with the people who are also on the boat. It's a wonderful experience. I love this. Or with old school RuneScape, where you have to walk literally everywhere until you get enough mage levels to get some actually useful.
All of what he's talking about here, all of this can be summed up very simply by one word. Novelty. Right? The game had novelty. You remember these things because they were unique and interesting experiences. Right, it was a novel experience to have to wait for the Deeprum tram, or to have to like run outside of Ogrimmar and then swing a left in order to go find the Zeppelin that would take you to the Undercity. Right, there was novelty to this. It was impactful. It did something that made you remember it, because these are the experiences that are then ingrained into the way you play the game. Right, there's zero novelty in modern MMOs. Zero. Fuck all. It's just inconvenience that's trying to push you into a cash shop versus inconvenience that allows something interesting to happen in-game between you and some of the other players. I just realized he has the Wii menu music in the background. Yeah, I noticed that as well. It's very common for people to use it.
Useful teleports. Sure, these are things that maybe aren't objectively good game design, but they're things that add this level of charm to the game worlds that I just love. I love having to walk from place to place or taking an extremely inefficient flight path instead of just being able to teleport to any city I've been to before. It makes these worlds feel big, and it feels like I'm just a small part of it. And if you're a game developer, I just want to say that lodestones and fast travel are a plague on society. If your world needs them, you need to design a better world. There, I said it, and I'm not taking it back. I'm sorry if that was mean. Adventure isn't the primary reason people play MMOs, but it's part of what makes it last forever to those who love them. And these crusty bits that exist in older MMOs don't, and in many cases shouldn't, exist in new MMOs. So if what made these older MMOs great can't be replicated by a new MMO, is the genre just like doomed?
Yes.
Yes. Wait. No. I know it might feel that way with all the MMORPGs that have come and gone over the years. When you consider
all it would take for the next WoW-sized MMO is for some fucking developer, some publisher, something like that, to put their foot down and say, we are not doing shit the way everyone else is doing it. We are not going to do it that way. And then, after they do it in a different way, or after they go back to it and look at like what made old MMOs so popular, so amazing to play, and they make it again, and they advance on that formula to a modern perspective, without all the bullshit, without all the MTX, without all the pay to win, without any of that, there will be a million articles written on that MMO saying, don't expect this to be the new standard for games.
Especially that games that are backed by massive companies like Amazon can't even seem to break through. It just doesn't seem like anything will be able to. But there is one thing that is still out there that can make MMORPGs great again. Development teams that care. Yeah, okay, that seems obvious, but it is true. So many of these games are made by massive corporations that don't really care if they make a good game, they just care if they can make a big profit. And even if the individual developers at these corporations care, they're going to get overruled by the higher-ups. But there are still development teams and studios out there that really prioritize bringing a new and exciting MMO experiences to the players. I think one of the best examples of a recent MMO doing well is a game called Albion Online. I'll be honest.
God damn it, you had me all the way up until then. Motherfucker. Okay, you know what? Albion Online's okay. I'd say it's like a 6 out of 10 MMO. It does have a bunch of cache systems. The problem is there's no questing, there's no story, there's none of that. You go out and you kill shit until you get the thing you want, you craft the thing you want, you wear the thing you want, you go fight for more things, you die, you lose everything, you start again.
Albion isn't exactly my cup of tea, but
Same thing with MMOs.
I absolutely respect and appreciate it for what it is. Albion was released in 2017 by an, at the time, small but dedicated development team at a company called Sandbox Interactive. It's got a deep, complex crafting system, nearly full-world PvP, and some other stuff that I claimed can make an MMO unapproachable. But the way this development team, which is only around 80 people now, approached the design of these systems shows that they were out to make something special, and for hundreds of thousands of people who play Albion daily, it's exactly that. Take the world.
Yeah, but this game is 100% grind, right? The problem with Albion is a lot of the time its progression doesn't feel meaningful, right? It doesn't hook you in with its progression because there is no progression. It's all up to you. And for some people, a lot of people, that's fine. And I think Albion makes for a really good phone game. But overall, I personally would not spend all my time playing this game, given the choice.
PvP, for example. Instead of just saying, you can be killed in this zone, but you're safe in this one, with a black and white system, not unlike WoW's PvP, Albion uses a color system. In blue zones, you're completely safe. In yellow zones, you can be attacked and you can attack PvP flagged players. But if you lose in a fight, you don't die. Instead, you'll be knocked down and you'll lose some equipment durability. But red zones are where things get interesting. Like in yellow zones, only PvP flagged players are participating in PvP, but you can die and you will lose all of your stuff. It's basically
Yeah, but there's the problem: is this all sounds wonderful in theory, but the reality is that there's 30 guys waiting for you in a Discord call, who are gonna fuck you over the second you go into a red zone.
Basically yellow zone with real consequences. And the final zone, called black zones, are the true PvP areas. There's no PvP flagging. If you go into a black zone, you are fair game for anyone to attack and kill you, and just like in red zones, you will lose everything. What's great about this system is that it adds another layer to the world design. Look at this map of the zones in Albion. There's this one black zone surrounding a city called Corellium, which has a lot of benefits versus normal cities, such as the black market. It makes players, even those not interested in PvP, have to make an interesting choice of braving a full PvP zone for the benefits that come from it, or play it safe and lose out. And think about old school RuneScape. Unlike classic WoW, old school RuneScape isn't a time capsule. It's been constantly updated since 2013. It's had a decade of dedicated and new content updates. So at this point, it's a whole new game from the snapshot taken in 2007. But the game is actually peaking in player count. That's because the old school...
Yes, because the improvements are good ones. Oh, I'm dying here. The improvements are good ones. Been playing a shit ton of Baldur's Gate. Yeah, I'm hoping to do the same over the next week or so. I've got a lot of catching up to do on Baldur's Gate.
School RuneScape team is made up of people who play and love the game, people who go out of their way to respond to and take note of player feedback. The care that goes into each content update in old school RuneScape ensures that even new things feel like they fit into that old mold. Yes, it's true, sometimes they miss the mark, but it's rare, and when they do, it's just not a disaster. And just looking at the player count for old school RuneScape, it pretty much proves that nostalgia is not the reason people love that game. MMORPGs don't need to die out just because they can't be exactly like the ones we grew up with. The challenge is finding a team that cares enough and has the financial independence to make one of these next great MMORPGs. It also requires that we as players stop giving our money to companies that take advantage not only of the player bases, but of their employees, creating horrible, hostile work environments while delivering hollow gameplay experiences, driving away any of the developers who might actually care about the games and care about the players who play them.
Which will never happen. It will never stop happening. It will always happen, and people will suck that company's cock until the fucking pubes leave the base of their dick. It will never stop happening. There will always be a group of people giving these motherfuckers money, and that's the problem. That's the issue. That's why they think they can get away with it, because they can. And all it takes for them to get the community back after they do some shit that pisses them off is they just need to release a cinematic that's about 2 minutes long. Oh, what? They fucked up my entire progression in the game? Yeah, but bro, did you see the new cinematic? That's all it takes. That is all it takes.
I'm gonna go play more WoW Classic Hardcore. Bye. Did you know that if I didn't have my Patreon supporters, I would literally be dead in a ditch right now because I am very sick, and the only way I can afford medicine is thanks to these people. If you'd like to support me on Patreon, you can do so with the link in the description. It's not required, but it's greatly appreciated, and I'll yell your name at the end of these videos. Speaking of the end of these videos, if you made it this far, why don't you leave a comment saying, "Oops, I didn't mean to watch this." That way everyone will know that you are mentally ill. I want to give a huge shout out to the members of my tier. I can't do that. My throat hurts so bad. Those people are John Sexum, Kuna Pazzi, Hooli, Suede Oxford, Joshi, a hobo with a spork, and Paradox. Thank you all so much. A big shout out as well to my executive milk producers. Those are Wait Nevermind, Fantastic Penguin, Azillin, Loon Master.
Just going through all his patrons now. That was a fucking good video. That was a really, really solid video. I'm surprised he doesn't have a higher view count for the last 7 days. That was actually a super good video.